Let's talk LPS price gouging because it's getting out of hand and not enough people are addressing it. So this video is going to be a little different from my usual content, a bit more like a rant. So I just wanted to say before I get into things that this is just my opinion and you're not like obligated to agree or anything, okay? I can't tell you how to spend your money. Originally, Littlest pet shops individually retailed about $5 each, maybe a bit less per pet if they came in a big set. And obviously with being discontinued, it's not unnatural for prices to increase, but how did it get to the point where very common pets are being sold for hundreds? In the majority of collectors' spaces, inflation of prices is often caused by supply and demand, the amount of an item in circulation versus the amount of people looking to buy it. If an item is high in demand but low in supply, that's when sellers start to creep the prices up. Because as long as people are willing to pay that money, sellers are going to take what they can get. However, Littlest Pet Shop is quite unique as a collector's hobby in the sense that prices are almost always determined by demand as opposed to rarity. Which means super common and easy to find pets are worth a ton of money as long as the demand is high. For example, the Comic-Con cat and the Comic-Con hippo. Whilst they're both equally as rare and hard to come by, the cat is a significantly higher demand mold and therefore sells for around double the price. Similarly, the main 5 molds, which I'll go over later in more depth, a lot of them are some of the most common pets out there, but they're valuable solely due to the demand. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I think honestly this contributes a lot to my enjoyment of the hobby. If you know me, you know I'm like cheap, I like thrifting, I like yard sales, and the feeling of finding a main 5 in the wild super cheap is unmatched. And because the valuable pets are common, this makes that experience all the more common. But yeah, for most people it is an absolute nightmare to obtain some of their dream pets because the pricing is just so inaccessible. The main 5 molds, Great Danes, Shorthair cats, Collies, Dachshunds and Cocker Spaniels rose to popularity during the LPS tube phenomenon, in which YouTubers would essentially use Littlest pet shops as actors in shorts and series. By far the most popular LPS series is ironically named Popular, in which all of the main characters use the main 5 mold. This kickstarted an insane amount of demand for these pets, and this paired with the switch over to the widely hated Gen 3 pets in 2012 made main 5s very quickly shoot up in price, and they're still insanely popular to this day. Generation 7 of LPS was actually highly influenced by LPS tube culture. And recently it was leaked that Gen 7 is getting a re-release of the pets that play Brooke, Savannah and Sage, just with some slight changes to still differentiate them from the originals. And I think it's a really positive change for the community that Basic Fun is making these insanely sought after pets more accessible. Except Basic Fun was caught stealing art from a fan, so I don't think I'll be buying from them anymore. The impact of LPS Popular even extends as far as accessories. For example, the crickets from the show have become quite valuable, and Brooke's satin pants, which were actually Polly pocket clothes, are also really sought after.
And apparently that's cool? I'll tell you what's cool. The $300 satin pants that I am wearing right now.
And this is despite the fact that people don't even like them that much and say they look like a diaper. And yes, I did have to delete Brooke Hayes' diaper from my search history after researching. I don't want to have to explain that one to my parents. But I think it's really interesting how just one YouTube series so heavily shaped the LPS fandom and its economy. LPS Popular was truly iconic. Also, I just wanted to add, I don't want this to come across in any way like I'm blaming the creator of LPS Popular for high prices. It is a contributing factor, but I feel quite the opposite actually. Like, Sophie GTV carries the LPS fandom on her back, and without her there probably wouldn't be so many collectors, there probably wouldn't even be a G7 reboot. Fake Littlest pet shops have been around for a long time, but they began their rise to popularity during the G3 era. Fakes can range from anything from almost perfect replicas to hot garbage. Fakes are somewhat controversial in the community, and it's kind of an argument I can see both sides of. They're a blessing and a curse at the same time. I think that it's amazing that fakes make popular and expensive pets significantly more affordable, and a lot of the time you can barely tell the difference, which doesn't make collectors of fakes feel so alienated for not shelling out their entire paycheck on little plastic animals. However, the accuracy of these fakes has led to a significant rise in scams, where people sell fake LPS as real ones. Hell, a lot of the time people don't even realise they're fake and scam people, like, entirely on accident. It took me half an hour of scrolling on Reddit to be able to identify my glitter short hair as fake. I wouldn't care either way because, like, I love her, but that's a bloody long time. That's how hard it is to tell. I don't necessarily think that other companies replicating LPS well is a bad thing as long as they don't have, like, dangerous chemicals or whatever. It was Hasbro's decision to switch over to G3, and somebody had to meet the demand for not so ugly pets. Those cheap, chemically rubber ducky fakes, on the other hand, I kind of see differently, because they're being used directly by the companies to scam. Last year, so many people got these cursed relics in fake advent calendars. I have a more in-depth video about the whole situation if you want more info on that and how to identify them. But while good, high-quality fakes are controversial, I think we can all agree that these things are a plague on society. So yeah, good fakes make LPS collecting affordable, but are also the reason many people have been scammed. Bad fakes expose children to dangerous chemicals. Yippee! I feel as though with any toy collecting community, price gouging causes a lot of infighting and just makes that community so much more of a toxic place. For example, there have been cases where content creators have made videos just appreciating underrated toy lines, and people have gotten into collecting them because of those videos, hence the prices go up. Which has led to the creators of those videos literally being threatened when all they wanted to do was just make a well-meaning video appreciating a toy line, which is not okay at all. And when G7 of Littlest Pet Shop released, obviously the demand for older LPS skyrocketed with the influx of new collectors. This was actually when I started collecting again, but some people who'd been collecting longer seemed to hold some sort of like hostility towards newer collectors and blamed them for the price increases. But from my perspective, having your hobby become more expensive sucks, but having a community is priceless. The more people that get into LPS, the more people there are to trade with, the more events that will be held, the more friends to make. And I think it's just weird to gatekeep something if that means having significantly less people to enjoy it with. I wanted to bring up Loopsies in particular because they have shot up in price recently, but just from what I've seen, I've never been that into them. I really applaud the community on how well they put in the effort to combat price gouging and reselling, and I want other communities to take notes. For example, they use vintage listings to spread the message to both buyers and sellers that these toys shouldn't cost hundreds. So let's talk about how we can prevent prices from going up, whether you're a buyer or a seller. When you're listing a pet for sale, check sold listings, not the currently available ones. Because a lot of the time the prices people are trying to sell something for are wildly different to what they're actually worth. Take Beanie Babies for example. If you go on eBay, there are people trying to sell them for tens of thousands. But that doesn't mean people are buying them at that price, because that would be silly. If you set it to sold listings instead, you'll find that most of them are like virtually worthless. It's a really common misconception that all Beanie Babies are worth a lot of money. They aren't, they haven't been since the 90s. So yeah, if you're selling LPS, press filter, then scroll down and turn on sold items, then price your pet at the average of what they're actually selling for, not the unsold listings. Because people can just put in whatever the hell price they want, doesn't mean it's suddenly worth that much though. And obviously this goes both ways. For buyers, you gotta stay strong and not overspend. I know it's hard when a pet you've been looking for so long finally comes up for sale, but try and be patient and wait for it at a reasonable price. Because when you buy an overpriced pet, you're sending that message to sellers that they can get away with pricing things higher and higher, and that's where the prices go up. I will admit I have been guilty of this. It's just the only in-person seller I know overprices, and I hate buying things online. But if you really don't know where to start, shameless self-promo, but I made a video on my side channel about how to get LPS for good prices. So I'd recommend giving that a watch. Don't entertain resellers or scalpers. Resellers will often try and get as much money as they can possibly get, but if you buy from people within the community, you're not contributing to that problem, and the prices will be better. I want to make a full video one day about red flags to look out for to spot resellers, but I'd say the main one is wildly over-exaggerating the rarity of a pet. Like all the time you'll see listings with like super rare, vintage in all caps, and it's just this. I see this a lot with Gen 7 LPS in particular, being resold for like double the price. Maybe I'd get it if you had like earlier access than other countries. But my brother in Christ, Vinted is region locked, we can just go to the store. I've not had this problem personally, but I've seen people saying as soon as G7s hit shelves in their local stores, people are buying out the entire stock, so their kids can't have any. But at the end of the day, scalpers wouldn't resell LPS if people weren't buying them. If we care about who we're buying from, that tells resellers not to bother stealing all the toys that are meant for kids. Yeah, hot take of the day, just resell trainers or some shit. Don't buy out an entire store worth of Pokemon cards so kids can't have any, you're going to hell. If you use Reddit, I'd really recommend joining the r/LPS buyers beware group, as it alerts you to new scams in like a constantly evolving scam environment. I don't know a better word for it. And it'll just help you stay educated about identifying fakes and bad prices, all that jazz. Another one is just raising awareness and educating people, like Lala Loopsy fans and like I aim to do with this video. A lot of people are very much well-intentioned and don't realise they're overspending or overpricing. I don't condone harassing people for this, but pointing people in the right direction via like a shareable Instagram post or something would do a world of good. And finally, we can just like be patient. LPS are at an all-time high value because Basic Fun has bought so many of the old collectors back, and because nostalgia and the kid alt market are super on trend right now. There's a good chance hype will start to die down again. The current trend climate is super fast-paced, and I think within a few years a lot of people would have lost interest. But that's all for today. I'd love to hear your opinion on the whole situation in the comments, and cheeky bit of self-promo time. I now have a store on ACG Goods with LPS stickers and keychains if you're interested. And also I had a fun idea for my Patreon, so once every month I'm going to start offering free commissions. So I'll draw you whatever the hell you want if you're a patron. It's way cheaper than commissions and you get all of my bonus content on top of that, so it sounds like a pretty good deal to me. And whilst I'm at it, I have some LPS adopts available over on my Instagram. Please help them find some good homes. Also, I've booked tickets to LPS Meet in London, so let me know if you're going because I know absolutely no one and I need friends. That's 6 self-promos in one video, a new record, but I gotta do what I gotta do. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and bye-bye!